Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful Tuesday. Just waiting for all of our feeds to be live here. Give me 1 minute. We're going to get started. Today, we're going to be talking about time management. Okay, let's do this. So, hello everyone. My name is Jake Sussman. I am the founder of Superpower Mentors. And today we're going to be talking about something that is a very sensitive conversation when it comes to having a learning difference, and that is time management. So before I just get started, I would just love if you are joining us just now to please share where are you watching from. You can either introduce yourself, tell me where you're from. That'd be great. There's nothing better than community. So let's have some fun here. So time management, man, that is probably the topic of most of the fights growing up. But I would say, and welcome, Jenna, appreciate it. If you do have any questions on time management, or if you have any specific examples that you would like me to go over about your child regarding time management, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. Again, this is going to be a really good opportunity to just dive in on all the things related to time management. So kind of how I'm going to do this is we're going to, share a little bit about my story, just for those of you who may not know. And then I'll be talking about some good strategies on time management, how we can be most proactive through this journey. So a little bit about me. So I have ADHD. Struggled significantly in school, growing up with it. And at the root cause of most of it was my whole relationship with time. And, growing up, whether it was from middle school and high school, I would find that the biggest times when I struggled the most was during times that weren't structured. So whether that was on the weekends or whether that was on the holidays or during the summer, all of those times was where I struggled the most. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But I think the biggest point of disruption was in college. So what is time management? What is time? And as it relates to someone with a learning difference. So I think, and I've been talking to a lot of families about this concept because we often overlook this piece, where when you think of a student, their entire relationship with time in high school, and in middle school, in elementary school, is you just show up to school, right, at an ungodly hour, which is like, what is it, like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you leave at 3:30 in the afternoon. So you have this big chunk. Then you have after-school activities. So for a student, that is their entire journey through school all the way up until college. Now, college is where things really get thrown a curveball because no longer are you showing up Monday to Friday at 7:30 in the morning, being there all day. You can have school Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 a.m., and then not have school until 4 p.m. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can have class at 12 o'clock. So it completely changes. Okay, so I just want to recognize that there's different evolutions of time management for kids with learning differences. So if you're a parent or if you personally struggle with time management, please just share the age of your kids that struggle with this, because that will help me better understand who's watching and how I can best help you. So again, I just want to quickly preface that time evolves for these kids with learning differences. Okay. Again, we don't really do a good job with looking backwards from time. All right. So for a parent, when a parent is watching this, or, when you're talking to your kids, you see, we understand time. When I say, meet me in 10 minutes, you know how to pace yourself from that. But for a student with learning differences, we don't see it that way. Okay, when you say 10 minutes, for me, how am I supposed to pace myself if I can't even hold what 10 minutes is? Remember that people with learning differences, we like stimulation. So we like to hold things. We like to feel things. So when you say 10 minutes or it's time to go now, I don't know how to stop. So a lot of times this place of tension comes a lot right before dinner. So let's talk about this fight before dinner. Because I know this happens a lot. And I know for a lot of our parents that I speak to, that fight before dinner is a huge time of tension, because whether your kids are on video games or on tech or they're scrolling on their phones, that's a point where, for example, let's say when dinner's ready, you say it's time for dinner and not giving them any heads up. They're not going to know. They're going to say, perhaps saying, okay, but they're not actually listening because they're hyper-focused. So I want to go back even further, because recognizing, especially if your kids have ADHD, that when it comes on time to understanding how their brain works, we have to also recognize that they hyper-focus. And when you hyper-focus, you lose track of time. You don't hear what's around you. You completely lose it. And Jana, I'm curious if your child has ADHD, because there's something there that I would love to know about, because ADHD can play a big role in understanding how we can best approach the time management piece. So I want to just share a little bit about some good strategies and resources for kids to use and adults to use when it comes to understanding their time management. So first of all, we love being visual, okay? We love seeing things, all right? So for you to just say, yeah, we're doing, we have this appointment at 3:00, I can't see that very well. All right. So one way that we can do that is to create a visual so that I can see and pace myself from where I am now to, for example, 20 minutes from now, an hour from now. Okay. A really good strategy on that is getting a time timer. Get that time timer. Again, I'm not saying this is going to work for every kid. However, what a time timer teaches us, and look that up right now on Amazon, you can go buy one, but what that teaches us is we can visualize that time so that when you say there's 10 minutes left, I can now start to pace myself on how long 10 minutes actually is. Because remember, we're teaching not the deadline, but we're teaching how to interact with the time when you give me the deadline and the actual deadline. That's where we get in trouble, right? So if you have to leave at 7:30 in the morning, or even probably earlier, let's say you have to leave at like 7:00 in the morning to get to school on time, don't say you're leaving at 7, say you're leaving at 6:50, right? Give some leeway for success. Don't just wait till the last minute. We have a tendency, right, to wait for the last minute on things, right? But for someone with a learning difference, we don't do well when we're under pressure either. So the last thing we want is to create a house of tension before they even start their day, okay? So also, for any new viewers coming on here, please don't hesitate to ask questions. I'm going to throw a lot of facts at you in this short period of time. I'm also down to just hang out and just talk about a bunch of different things as it relates to time. So again, go ahead and ask away. I'm all here for it. All right. So let's look at a good way to visualize time. A really good tool that I like to use personally is using Google Calendar. And this helped me a lot in college. So if you have kids who are older, this is really good, but also this can be really helpful for the younger kiddos. Using a Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, what that shows is time blocking. And what time blocking is, it's a way for you to visualize looking at time like a big puzzle. All right. You have your white space, which is open time. Then you have these little boxes, which are filled time. Okay. So that's something that is really, really, really helpful. And thank you, Kimberly, for saying that. Kimberly is going to try this also tomorrow. Let me know. I'm so curious what's going to happen. Let's give that 10 minutes of flexibility so that you can be successful at home. That's all we want. We want you to be successful at home. So again, Kimberly, let me know how that goes. So where I was going is, when you create a block schedule, it allows this visualization of time and being able to see how long things take. So let's say, we already, actually, hold on. I want to show you all something really cool because I made this visual, and let's see if I can share my screen. Hold on. Let's see. Is this it? Nope. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Sharing my screen. So for my parents, this is going to be really helpful to visualize. So what I did here was I broke up time into 1 hour blocks. So here we can see between, if you have a typical school day, let's just say school starts at 8 till 3. Although I know for some of you kids, it's ridiculous how early school starts now, but let's just go for the heck of it. We'll just go from 8 to 3. So we know that there's this 2 hour window before school starts. And then we know that there's this big window after school ends. So where kids get stuck is here, right? Because they come home and what's the first thing they do, right? You're on tech, you're playing video games, you're doing something. And that, by the way, triggers hyperfocus. So this block, these 2 blocks are critical that can define the success of the rest of the evening. But this is a really good visual to see just how little time or much time you really have. Okay. So let's start in the morning because we want to minimize fights in the morning. Okay. We don't want stress in the morning. It's bad for you. It's bad for the kids. It's bad for the family. It's bad for the siblings and the dogs and everyone. We don't want it. Let's minimize it. All right. So it's a very simple routine. In the morning, we're going to wake up. We're going to change, right? We are going to eat a gluten-free breakfast. That's key. Gluten is bad, 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 bad. We don't want gluten, especially if your kid's at ADHD. Gluten there's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of great alternatives now to gluten, but we want to try to minimize as much gluten as we can. And ideally, this is a long shot, but ideally, we want to have a heart rate outlet. And what I mean by that is something that gets their heart rate up in the morning. It can be 20 jumping jacks for all I care. Right? Something to get that blood flowing in their brain so that they can show up to school not being brain dead, right? Or foggy. We want them being clear. So if we can somehow incorporate this in their morning routine, that's key. So here's our first 2 blocks. Then they go to school for the whole day. Don't worry about it. School's got them taken care of with the fixed schedule. But now is when they come home. All right? When they come home, I would say first thing, get them a snack, right? A lot of times this is when their medication wears off around 3 o'clock, right? So get them a snack. And this is when we want to start to do a heart rate outlet again, whether it's jumping jacks, running around the house, the property, if you are able to, they're involved in the sport. We want to let out that steam so that they can then focus on the important things after, which comes here, okay? After they let out their steam, they're going to do homework. They can play. This is an opportunity for them to actually play video games. I want them to earn it. Come home, they can chill for a sec. After they exercise or do something, boom, they can play. They've earned it. It's a reward. This is also a great time to talk to a mentor or someone that can help lift them, their spirits or give them confidence. Great. Then family dinner, light read, play after that, then bed. So this is an example of a really, really great routine to set up for the kids during the school day. Again, if anyone has any questions on this, ask, and I will make sure that I answer this for you. Again, really great visual. We love visuals. Utilize those block schedules. It's really easy for me to compartmentalize a 1 hour block of time versus, I don't know, 4 o'clock. Like, I don't know what that is. That to me is confusing. I don't understand that. All right. So let's start to use these blocks. It's a really, really, really good way to do it. This is what I did in college. Utilizing the block schedule. It helped me gain that independence as well. Also, nowadays, because kids have emails, parents have emails, it's a really good way that you can actually add stuff to their calendar. Again, it's really great. Yeah, we got Braden, I know, is mentioned that Google Calendar was the biggest help for him in college as well. Braden, thanks again for sharing that. That's huge. It's massive. All right. So parents, if your kids are older, make sure we start incorporating Google Calendar, especially if they're in high school and beyond. For our middle schoolers, not as important, but definitely incorporate some type of visual at home. Any questions? This is important. This is really good to ask now. And I want to know too, like, what would you like to know about time management for your kids? Okay. Again, Jana was talking about time blindness. I think I want to be careful around using that term, time blindness. And for the only reason is that I don't want their learning disability. I don't want kids using their learning disability as a crutch for an excuse to not be good at time management. Okay. And I'm going to say that again. If you like what I just said, shoot a like on this thing, right? Because I want to know that everyone's hearing this. Okay. If you have a kid with a learning difference, I do not want them, right? We don't want them to use and lean on their disability as a crutch, as a reason why they're not good at something, because that traps them in a box of what they are capable of. Okay. So remember that. So we want to make sure we separate from time blindness. Kids are very capable of doing it. They just have to do it in a way that works for them. And for kids with learning disabilities, we love stimulation. We love progress and motion and movement and making gains and, you know what I mean, momentum. So we want to simulate that with visuals that we can cross out as we make progress through the day. It's like a game. Okay. So really, really good piece as well. All right. So looking back, I'll keep this up too for families to take a look at also. So looking back, what do I wish that I knew about time management when I was younger? Well, one is I wish I had this idea knowing that when I hit college, it doesn't matter what school you go to, right? It doesn't matter if you're in private school or public school. They don't really teach us this, right? They don't teach us that when we hit college, time is going to be completely different. The homework's going to be different, they say, but my relationship with time is going to change. So if we're going to be proactive, and that's my whole thing, right? Proactive parenting, it's everything, okay? So if I'm going to be a proactive parent, what I'm going to do is start to preemptively teach my kid independence with these calendars, right? Trying to find these visuals so they can start to learn it. And if you're struggling with that, let me know. I'll be happy to work with you on that. Post it in the comments. Again, this is a really great opportunity to hash it out. I want to just quickly go over a misconception that's often had with time management. Okay. And I've gotten this. So a lot of parents have asked me, there's this thought that struggling with time management, right, is just simply a matter of laziness. It's not laziness, okay? If you think your kid is lazy, I'll tell you, laziness is a made-up thing. No one's born lazy, right? They're not inspired, right? They're finding something that's an easy alternative to where they're at presently. So if they're going to be just scrolling on Instagram all day, not wanting to help around the house, that's not lazy, right? They're just not being stimulated, or they don't have a reason to do it. Now, it's not an excuse, all right? And you can record me saying this again. It's not an excuse. Don't be disrespectful to parents, right? That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is recognizing that your kid's not lazy, right? We just have to better reach them and teach them how to interact with time. So let's talk about a chore. Someone give me a common chore that your kid struggles with. I want to know. Give me a common chore. Someone post it in the chat and I'll talk about it. Okay? If you don't do it in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to tell you why. But it'll be nice to hear from all of you. You got 5 seconds to tell me. Give me a common chore. Give me something that they struggle with, because I can tell you one that I struggled with. I want to know. Let's see if someone's going to do it. And if you're snoozing, that's okay also. All right, you got 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Doing the dishes. Thank you. All right. Cleaning the room, right? Jana, appreciate it. Cleaning the room. By the way, I struggled with that one also. It was between that and doing the dishes. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about cleaning the room. All right. We have to ask ourselves first, what's the criteria of cleanliness that we want? Obviously, we want it to be hygienic. We don't want it to be dirty, right? With clothes on the floor, it's also difficult for kids with ADHD to look behind them, okay? So for parents who don't have ADHD, this is going to be a tough thing to understand, but we have a very hard time looking behind us. And you may have, see this a lot. And again, it's not an excuse, but it's something important to recognize that if there's clothes on the floor, right, I'm already on to the next thing. So I forgot about those clothes on the floor. So that's different from just the time management piece. So when it comes to cleaning the room, we can actually incorporate that. Perhaps when they come home, I would even say cleaning the room right before bed. Okay. Now remember, if it's really messy, okay, sometimes we struggle getting started. Okay. So I'll put Jenna's piece up too, so everyone else can see. So cleaning the room, getting started in any project, right? It's called ADHD. It's like being frozen, right? ADHD paralysis. You're like frozen in time. You can't start. So oftentimes, this is something that my mom did when I was growing up. She would help me get started, and then I would take it from there. Okay. So maybe you can start with, maybe you start as a routine, because remember, once you clean it, it's easy to keep it clean, but it's hard to get it clean again, right? Once it gets messy. So you can help them start the project, and you take that timer. You can set it for 30 minutes or even make it a game, 15 minutes. They can clean that room in 15 minutes if they go all out, running around, make it a race. If they get it within 15 minutes, they get a prize, especially if they're young, like 10, right? We love reward, right? Again, momentum reward. So if you give me something that I'm excited about, that I'm a little competitive with, and I can earn something, then that could be a really good way to motivate me to want to clean that room. Yes, Pam. Pam was asking, this will be recorded. For all of you that are not able to watch this right now, this will be recorded. You can, after this live, you'll be able to go on to my Facebook page or Superpower Mentors Facebook page, and you will be able to watch this at your leisure. Okay. So again, Jana, cleaning that room, give them something that they're excited about, a motivator. I don't know what your kid likes. If it's video games, which most 10-year-olds love, or, make it a project, something if they can clean their room for X amount of time, they get this prize, right? Really, really good way to keep it competitive and exciting. If they fail, let's talk about this. This is actually going to be really good. So let's say that your kids fail at the request. So who was my parent? Kimberly. Kimberly is going to try this tactic of telling her kid that she's leaving 10 minutes earlier than the 7 o'clock departure time. All right. Let's say that doesn't work. Parents, we have to reflect, hold back as much as we can. I know that we want to react because we have other kids we have to deal with and other priorities. You have to get to your work. Respond versus react. All right. And I want to get to this. Let's see if I can bring this up. Hold on, everyone. Let me see if I can bring this up. This was another good exercise that I did. Okay. Respond versus react. For the parents, when it comes time to when it doesn't work out, if they fail, remember, I actually hate saying that word because I don't believe in failure. I believe in learning. So you either lose or you learn. It's a mindset. So learning. If you react to them being late again, although it's frustrating and hard, it gives your kids the power. It's going to cause them to react too. But if you respond, if we say, okay, maybe wait, and then later in the car, you can say, what can we do better next time to get you closer to time to leave? Okay. Could be a really good opportunity to start a conversation versus it being yelling and you're wasting, you're now making everyone late. It doesn't make them feel good. Right? So if you struggle with this in the morning, especially, reach out to me. Let me know. I'll be happy to work with you on better strategies, more personalized, that can help you with your kid. I think that's, probably the biggest piece that I get a lot from parents. Now, parents, remember that at Superpower Mentors, we've done 7,000 sessions. All right. Working with kids all over the world, matching them to their own mentor, helping them find their confidence. We've worked with hundreds of families. These strategies are coming from our experience doing this. Beyond just what's out there, a lot of this is coming directly from the source. All right. So just recognize too that these tips, they're coming from actually using them and working with them. And I'm not saying this will work for every kid, because every kid is different, neurodiversity, but it has worked for many. Okay, so we're debunking myths. Now I think that was my 30-minute spiel. Does anyone have any questions? Let me know. Again, great opportunity to ask. You got me for a little bit, but if you have further questions. Ooh, nice. We got Braden with the question. This is good. Braden, I'm going to put this up here so everyone can see. So Braden says, I am a professional procrastinator. I have almost always been successful with this when there is a due date from someone else. But when there is no due date from someone else, procrastination always bites me in the butt. What can to not procrastinate or use procrastination to do things that have no due date? Okay, what I think you're trying to say, it's the learning, reading thing. What you're saying is, how can I not procrastinate when I have my own deadlines? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what your question is. All right. This is probably the single hardest thing out there. All right. Now, I'm not saying everyone's perfect. Everyone has their challenges with this, especially when it comes to like checking your bank account, paying off a bill, like things that have deadlines, or even just for yourself. Like, I want to go to the gym more, or I want to start this hobby. Here's something that I would advise when it comes to holding yourself accountable to something that's important to you. There is this really awesome exercise that I've done with my mentees. And the concept of this, I call it quantum possibilities. And the idea is you take a journal. Okay. On one side of the journal, you write quantum possibilities. And essentially what that means is, what do you want to achieve in your life? It could be anything, right? It can be, I will graduate college. I will learn a new language. I will, get married and have a family one day, right? I will have $1 million in a bank account. I don't know. It could be anything. All right. The point is, you have these big goals. And I think for people with learning differences, it's very, we have big, lofty thoughts and goals and dreams. But a lot of times you don't get any of it done. So what the concept of this is, you're writing down what you're going to achieve. Okay, so Braden, the question is, what are you procrastinating from? Give me an example. All right. But let's just, for the sake of it, until Braden responds back to me, let's just say that Braden is procrastinating on, let's say he wants to train for a 5K. Okay. He's training for a 5K. He's got no one telling him to do it. It's just something that he wants to do for himself. So how are we going to get Braden to actually train for the 5K? So what he's going to do is he's going to write down in this quantum possibility note, I will complete, or I will finish a 5K. Boom. Then on the next page where he can see, he's going to write down his daily goals. So every day he's going to do one thing to get him closer to the 5K. Okay, so Braden says applying to jobs. So I'm going to finish the 5K analogy, then we'll talk about applying to jobs. So Braden's going to write down, well, what is one thing that I have to do today to get me closer to finishing a 5K? Well, maybe I should eat an apple, because eating healthy equates to performing better, which then helps me finish the 5K. So I'm going to eat an apple. If I ate an apple, I can cross it off. And now I can look back and be like, hold on, time out. I made it one step closer to finishing my 5K. I am successful. Okay. So that's a really good way to look back and seeing that success early momentum. All right. So Braden actually he was talking about applying to jobs. So I'll use another example about applying to jobs to his question. So Braden wants to apply to jobs. Okay. So Braden, you're going to write down every day, I will get a job by, you got to put a date. Give me a date. Okay. You're going to do, what is it? February. Let's say you're going to write, I will have a job by March 15th. Okay. I'm just giving an example. March 15th, you will have a job. So every day you're going to wake up and you're going to write this down. I will have a job on March 15th. Then in your daily goal, what you're going to write is you're going to write about what are you going to do today that's going to be closer to applying to the job? Well, go on LinkedIn. You can fill out an application. You could, go learn something, listen to a podcast, cross it off. Remember, Braden, and for anyone with a learning difference, okay, we have a really hard time. We have a hard time like seeing progress sometimes. So if you can cross that off and look back, you can actually feel successful. All right. Braden, remember that you can feel successful if you did what you had to do that day to get you closer to applying to a job. Applying to jobs is very broad. It's like, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. Okay. You're not going to actually finish the marathon. You're going to give up halfway through because it's too long, and then you're going to feel like a failure, but you're going to forget that you actually ran 13 of them, right? So Braden, if that was helpful, let me know, okay? So Pam, Pam said, any tips for a student with inattentive ADHD just starting high school, age 12 in Australia? Not my child, but a student I'll be tutoring for both this and dyslexia, thinking maybe time management might be a big thing for high school. Maybe some of the ideas that came from the NASA person we mentored or interviewed, 100%. And for those who don't know what Pam's talking about, I interviewed this really awesome mentor at Superpower Mentors named Jeff. You can go on Superpower Mentors Facebook and watch the interview. It's great. We talk about time management big time. All right. So in terms of tips for a student with inattentive ADHD starting high school, again, think about the difference between middle school and high school. All right. In high school, there's a little bit more leniency when it comes to time. So I would advise get them to fill out a syllabus, I don't know if they get syllabus in Australia in high school, but see if we can get things in advance, because the more that we can get things in advance, we can actually plan out. If I know that I have midterms in a month and a half from now, let's say on March 15th, again, for example, and I have to do a project for that, I can now start to work backwards using the same approach with the Google Calendar idea of where we're going to have these big blocks that we can put them in. It will allow your student to be able to feel like they're making progress, even though nothing is due for a really long time. Okay. So Pam, I hope that's helpful. Again, if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to keep asking here. Okay, Simone asked, is there a template available for that time blocking that we can use with our kids, please? I can make one, but what I can do is you can take a screenshot of this. Hold on, let me see if I can share my screen again. Let's see. Yeah, Simone, you can take a screenshot of this. I can make a template. For those who are interested in me making a template for the time blocking when it comes to like Google or Apple Calendar, shoot me a message or comment in the comment section. That will allow me just to get an idea. I'll be happy to make one. Yeah, so hope this was also helpful. Yes, Pam, break that down into smaller objectives. Remember, we're not running a marathon, okay? Even we're running a marathon, okay? We want to break that marathon to just miles, okay? Even further, look for the milestones, okay? So passing that traffic light, right? So we want to reward along the way. So if your kid is transitioning to a new school, just remember the difference in time and what's going to be the change in responsibility with time in high school versus middle school. So when are their free periods? What are they going to do in those free periods? Ideally, I would want every single teacher knowing that student's name before they even step foot in that building. Every single one that they're going to have needs to know that student's name and needs to be as part of their plan. That's all part of the success team, okay? You got to do it. It's super, super important, all right? So 100%. That's great. Love it. Keep up coming. I love this. You're all doing great. Brandon, I hope that was also helpful earlier about applying to jobs. That's really, really, really great question. So if no one else has other questions, I'm going to hang out for just a little bit more. I'm going to sign off until next week, where who am I interviewing? I'm interviewing one of our mentors who builds commercial aircrafts. So if your kids like airplanes or engineering, this is going to be a really cool interview. It's going to happen, I believe, next Tuesday, possibly. So just look out for that post. It's going to be great. And if you are interested in signing your kid up for a mentor at Superpower Mentors, let me know, and we'll be happy to waive the first month of the enrollment fee. Again, our whole mission is that we want to impact as many kids as possible. So with that, everyone, please have a good evening. Thanks again for hopping on, and I'll see you next week. All right. Bye, everyone.